Creating a successful business has never been so simple. Welcome to the Journey of Entrepreneurship podcast.
Your hosts, Richard Phipps and Ross Lerorio,
will provide valuable insights that will help you turn your ideas into reality.
Hello, Russell.
Hey, Mr. Phipps. All right,
I'm going to call you back rather than continue on. All right. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Tell me when you're ready.
I'm ready.
I just put food in my mouth. I'll be going in a minute. There's some coconut bread down. All right, my friend, we're off and running.
All right. Welcome to another episode of the Journey of Entrepreneurship. My name is Roz, and I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Richard Phipps. How are you doing today, Mr. Phipps?
As usual, awesome. I try to keep it that way, my friend.
I'm glad to hear that. Today, we will be discussing something that every entrepreneur, as well as every adult, has to deal with: managing stress. And Mr. Phipps, I'd like you to discuss some of the techniques that you use to manage stress and some of the obstacles that you've overcome that you've learned lessons from.
So, Russell, you always come with some interesting questions, and it makes it sometimes it takes a little bit of thought to reflect on some of these things, but then some of them are very straightforward. Now, as it relates to stress, I always suggest that I don't get stressed, but I think I think that that's more from practice and planning, organization than anything else. I have some interesting signs around that. There's a sign that I have that says an emergency on your part does not constitute an emergency on mine, and I think that eliminates some of the challenges that might create some stress. There's another one that says some people wait things to happen, and some people wonder what happened, and some people make things happen. And if you can make things happen, on your schedule rather than wondering what happened or what somebody else did, that can also eliminate some stress. But joking aside, one of the key things to manage or minimize stress, if there's such a thing as minimizing it, is planning, organization. Because oftentimes, without organization, the chaos that results creates a level of stress. And if we can create a plan, a daily plan, an hourly plan, that guides us step by step from one task to another, with the achievables, and we can see those achievables as we work, then that sense of accomplishment will also eliminate some stress. So stress comes in many different forms. Sometimes you bring it to work with you from home. Sometimes clients create it. Sometimes work associates can create it. Sometimes it can come from the vendors we do business with. It can come in all shapes and sizes and at all moments. But if, as an entrepreneur, you stay in control of your environment and situation, then it is a little bit less likely that you will become stressed over things happening around you. One of the things is that sort of creates that a lot of times is the performance. You have deadlines to meet, and I think a lot of this can be cured with proper planning. So that would be the first thing I put on the list based on my experience. Secondly, planning in an organization are two different things. We can have a plan, but we still have to have organization within the plan. I was at an event recently and the person said, chaos is my plan. And I thought to myself, if that works for them, then, who am I to say otherwise? But from my observation, it wasn't working. They had a lot of people confused and a lot of expectations that were unrealized. So although it might be in that person's head a plan, in my opinion, it did not have the essence of a plan. It left too many questions unanswered. Now, I always joke about sometimes, my comedic skills come out. Our current president always has a plan, and it's really a simple plan. It's to, reject everybody else's opinion and enforce his own. That's his plan. So, that plan seems to work for him. So, everybody has a different idea or ideology of the execution of a plan. But in short, when we have a plan, a plan is just a roadmap. No, we have to execute on the roadmap. And organization is a key part of that execution. There's a popular thing where people say you put the cart before the horse. Now, if that happens, the horse is definitely pushing the cart. It's not going anywhere. So we have to have the task in our plan organized in such a way that we can have a good flow, consistency for execution purposes. So if we don't align things properly in the plan, that can also lead to stress. It can lead to delays in execution that create stress. It can lead to confusion about who's supposed to do what, and therefore organization is another good organization is another great stress reliever. I think of organize a closet. You have the short sleeve shirts in one place, long sleeve shirts in another, dress shirts separated from regular shirts. You have your jackets and ties hung separately. You may have them matched to go as a set. You have your brown shoes in one place and the black shoes in another and the sneakers in another and the other color shoes, So when I think of organization, I think of that sort of space where, there's no delay in walking into the closet and knowing where to pull a short sleeve shirt from, where to pick up a pair of brown shoes. Sometimes that sort of organization in business will help with the same type of smooth flow and efficiency that you're looking for to avoid stress. Task we talked about earlier, when they're organized, should be organized in such a way that, like a conveyor belt. Everything happens in a certain order and therefore you don't have hitches often. You'll get the mechanical failure sometimes, but as far as a system failing, that is very unlikely. Now, that's another stress reliever. So we've discussed good plans, good organization. Another stress reliever is communication. Oftentimes, and I don't know if this has ever happened to you. Have you ever had somebody talk to you and provide some direction or instruction, whether it's driving or otherwise, and they walk away and you say, "What did they say?"
All the time. All the time.
Okay. Yeah. So communication can be a challenge. That can create some stress because now, you wanted directions to go you wanted information to go in a certain direction. They give you information, but it led to chaos rather than, execution. So in the workplace and in your production space with coworkers and so forth, clear and effective communication is very important to avoid stress. And sometimes, the folks get stressed, they don't get the right information, and they will sit and say, I don't know what he thinks or she thinks I'm going to do. I don't know what they want me to do. I can't do what they just asked me to do. That doesn't make sense. And a lot of times it's just the lack of clear and effective communication in terms of getting things done. So we want to be sure that whether we're communicating job directions or encouragement, because you can be sometimes providing encouragement and people misunderstand it. It's not quite clear. You can say to somebody, I really am impressed with the work you're doing, and they can take it one way, and then you can say to someone else, the job you're doing is one that I sort of would encourage or support. And, because you said would encourage or support instead of impressed, it's like, okay, what did you say? But we want to be sure that when we give compliments or when we give instructions or when we give direction, that it's clear and that the other party receives it, so that our environment can continue to work in a smooth and synchronous fashion that we expect it to work, unless you are the individual that told me they like chaos. So, those three things, I believe, will eliminate a great deal of chaos. But another one that comes to mind is time management, which is part of planning and execution. But it's the allocation of adequate time to accomplish a specific task. And, at one point in time, somebody said, "Should you have a way of having three conversations at the same time?" And I realized that probably was not the most efficient way to operate. So I obviously had to make some adjustments there. And it's necessary when people make observations about you for you to examine them rather than be offended and, make adjustments so that you can become more efficient as an entrepreneur or whatever field of endeavor. If somebody provide some criticism, to analyze the criticism before you, become irritated with the critic or the messenger. It's just their opinion and observation, and you should take it into consideration and see if it can benefit you. But when we talk about time management, oftentimes as individuals, we're trying to, because we have time constraints, we know that we have work, lifespan for work of 40 or 50 years. We have a lifespan for our lives of 70 to 80 years with good health and maybe a little bit more. It's because we're always attached to time and we can't stop it. Some people are trying to outrun it and outperform within the time they have allotted. That can also create some stress for us individually as the performers and for the people around us, which is something we have to be cognizant of, because if you're stressed, it has a ripple effect. You start to demonstrate that stress, it starts to stress others out, in your environment, and then basically everything goes off track. Although people are struggling to keep it on track, it's derailed. So the lead person, executive, manager, they have to keep a calm head, steady hand, and manage time well without panicking about timelines. Understanding that if we schedule properly in the planning phase, we'll be able to manage time and productivity rather than over promising and under delivering, which is a challenge in many areas. So we want to be mindful about the time that we have available for accomplishment of certain tasks. And even sometimes, people say, well, time is money. Well, if you waste money, you waste time. However, if you rush and make mistakes, which oftentimes happens, it costs more than if you had planned properly and executed properly in a timely fashion. So, and it goes a lot. One of the things that I think about frequently, when I talk to people in the construction industry, a person gets a low estimate, and they go with the low estimate because it's more affordable to them. And then the project gets third or halfway through and stalls. And then the person that provided the original estimate and service proposal and was engaged is unable to complete. And then the owner now has to get somebody else to come in, and it's cost them twice as much almost. I mean, they have to, it's like starting all over again. And the person coming in is not one to be responsible for the initial person's work. So, it's a very uncomfortable space to be in when we don't take the right path initially and we have to recover. So I come back to the management of time as it relates to our productivity. And if we plan properly with the appropriate amount of time, and people aren't stressed, to meet a deadline because there was adequate time allowed for the performance. Those four things are things that I think can certainly impact workplace, individual performance, entrepreneurs, and those four keys, if managed carefully, can certainly eliminate a lot of stress. And the last that I will add to that four is family. Family is very important. As a matter of fact, it's the number one on my list. After God first, family second, and work third. Business, whatever that is. But because family is so important, sometimes, family can, wittingly or unwittingly, willingly or unwillingly, two different things, create stress by putting undue demands on you as an individual, as an entrepreneur. They want things and they want it now, and you may not, based on your plan, as I said at the outset, an emergency on your part does not constitute an emergency on mine. So in my day, I allocate an hour every day, sometimes a little bit more, or 90 minutes, I think, is on my calendar, for charitable things, for people that want to, assistance immediately. And if I can, and it's urgent, then I will utilize that 90-minute window to complete whatever task that person requires. Now, sometimes it's not 90 minutes, sometimes it's 30 minutes, sometimes 45 minutes. It's things that I would consider significant, medication, or things of that nature to assist a family member, or get them to the grocery store so they can get some nutrition and continue to live, so they can continue to make those emergency calls. No, I'm just kidding. But
tread lightly.
But the bottom line is, family is very important, and we need to allocate some time in our schedule for the things that they might require. Your wife needs something picked up, or your fiance, or your child. So, but if we allocate time in our schedules for those things, that can also eliminate some stress, feeling like you have to, plug something in. Often one of my daughters may call for something or ask for, some, whatever it is, with regard to the grandchildren or something. And because I've already allocated that time, I just have to reposition that 90 minutes to wherever it's best serves that purpose without interrupting the rest of my workday. So those are the 5 things, Rossa. There may be others. It's not an all-inclusive podcast, as you know. And folks always have the opportunity to call with specific questions to you or to us and be able to get answers on the business that they do or their specific businesses as may be required. But those 5 key concepts are ways that we can eliminate stress from the day by being organized with a plan, manage time wisely, effective communications, and the other pieces that we discussed earlier. And I don't touch this or as part of, but having a good spiritual foundation allows oftentimes one to work with great balance, and that can also be a source of relief from stress. But that is a philosophical part of my presentation. That's my thought. It could work for others. It works for others that I know. So spirituality helps to provide a solid base from which to function on an even keel frequently.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And the topics that you covered were fantastic, and I think the listeners will definitely be able to incorporate a lot of the examples and topics that you gave to us today. As far as something that we always keep coming back to, planning and organization has been a foundational piece since we started the podcast, and that's where a lot of our listeners should start. And they should always look to have things in their life that add balance and is not always work related, such as the charitable work that you mentioned before or your religious foundation. There should always be some extracurricular that you're incorporating into your schedule and into your plan that assists you in keeping balance in your life and will help reduce the stress and help you manage it.
That is the word, the key word which you just mentioned, balance. And if you're able to put it all together and maintain a certain balance throughout it, then that's a good plan to work with.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Mr. Phipps. And if our listeners have any questions, we've made a few adjustments to better serve them. The email that they can reach us is now questions@journeyofentrepreneurship.com. And they can reach us at any time, and we'd be more than happy to answer any questions or address any situations that they may be struggling with.
Wonderful. And I like that change. Congratulations on that change. Questions at Journey of Entrepreneurship.
Yes, sir.
I like that, Russell. So,
thank you again, Mr. Phipps, and have a wonderful day.
You too, my dear friend. We'll talk soon.
Bye.